Hannity in New York. Good night. All right, thanks, Tucker, as always. And this is a Fox News alert. This is just breaking. Roy Price, Amazon's entertainment chief, is taking a leave of absence following a sexual harassment claim. Now, this comes as the massive Harvey Weinstein scandal is now expanding. More and more women continue to come forward accusing this disgraced Hollywood producer and major Democratic donor of serious misconduct. This scandal is exposing so many things. Hollywood's history of enabling this type of disturbing, despicable conduct, and also we have proof that Weinstein's behavior towards women was not a secret in Hollywood. Yet people did not come forward and stop it all from happening. And what's worse, now we have evidence tonight, the liberal mainstream media, the champion of women's rights, they're now exposed in this firestorm after NBC News, the New York Times, they are now accused of apparently spiking stories against Weinstein for years. So how many women could have been protected had they done their job? Plus, following days of deafening silence, Hillary Clinton, she's now saying she's going to give Weinstein's political donations to charity. Tonight, right here on this program, we will do something that no one else in the media will do. We will talk about the millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars that Hillary Clinton took through her family foundation from countries with atrocious, horrible human rights records towards women, gays, lesbians, Christians, and Jews. And that is in tonight's important breaking news opening monologue. Now, the appalling Harvey Weinstein scandal continues to grow tonight, and the details are more and more disturbing. Now, dozens of women have come forward accusing this Hollywood producer of a lot of misconduct. And according to TMZ, Weinstein is now in a rehab facility in the Scottsdale, Arizona area. Tonight, we have new video of Weinstein asking for a second chance. Let's watch this.
Harvey, are you doing okay?
I'm hanging in. I'm trying my best.
Thank you, man. We're glad to see you're doing okay.
Thank you. Guys, I'm not doing okay.
You're not?
I'm trying. I got to get help, guys. You know what? We all make mistakes. Second chance, I hope.
Now, while Weinstein says he's going to try and better himself, his legal troubles may just be getting started. Now, the New York City Police Department, the London police are re-examining allegations of sexual assault against Weinstein. Now, a statement released by the NYPD reveals that investigators, they're working to determine if there are other complaints filed against Weinstein. And according to the AP, the NYPD Special Victims Unit is now working on talking to potential victims. Now, this includes the women mentioned in the explosive New Yorker expose. Remember that article, 3 women accused this man of rape. The AP is also reporting that London Metro Police, they're investigating an allegation of sexual assault against Weinstein dating back to the 1980s. Now, the allegations against Weinstein, these are beyond disturbing. And to be 100% clear here, what allegedly happened to Harvey Weinstein's accusers is horrible, and it's understandable why they are afraid to come forward. Now, earlier, given Weinstein's tremendous power and influence in Hollywood, and like some of them have said, Weinstein could have crushed their careers, destroyed their entire lives. But as we're about to show, people in Hollywood, they knew this was all going on, and many could have done a lot more to stop this. Now, the Weinstein scandal was an open secret in Hollywood. For example, take a look at this video from 2013. It's comedian Seth MacFarlane. He's making a so-called joke about Weinstein.
Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
Now, after that clip that you just saw resurfaced this week, well, MacFarlane explained that the reason he made the so-called joke back in 2013 was because a friend of his told him that she had an uncomfortable encounter with Weinstein. Now, MacFarlane added that the comment came from a, quote, place of loathing and anger. Now, there's also this so-called joke about Weinstein from a 2012 episode of the NBC show 30 Rock. Let's watch this.
I'm not afraid of anyone in show business. I turned down intercourse with Harvey Weinstein on no less than 3 occasions out of 5.
Now, clearly, after what we know now, the joke wasn't funny. This was an open secret in left-wing Hollywood. So clearly, people involved in the production of that NBC show, Well, they had to, at a bare minimum, had some idea about what Weinstein was doing. And yet, all of those, they chose to what, crack a joke about the situation? Well, guess what? It's not funny. And once again, it proves Hollywood has no standards, no morals, no basic human decency. With what we're finding out, it looks like Harvey Weinstein's actions were just one of the biggest open secrets in that industry. And the liberal mainstream media, they also now tonight seem complicit in keeping these accusations against Weinstein quiet. Now, according to Sharon Waxman, she's a former New York Times reporter, a 2004 story that she was working on about Weinstein allegedly paying a woman to keep her silent after he sexually harassed her was eventually killed by the so-called paper record, with what the reporter says was the help from Matt Damon and Russell Crowe. Now, Damon, he's denying that he took any part in stopping the story from going forward. He says the conversation that he had with the reporter was not about Weinstein. Russell Crowe, he has yet to comment publicly. Now, a former New York Times editor is also pushing back against Sharon Waxman by saying, oh, the New York Times never spiked the story. Then there's the biggest purveyors of conspiracy lies and theories in the country today, NBC News. Now, Ronan Farrow, a reporter, he actually works for NBC News. He ended up having to publish this explosive story about Weinstein with the New Yorker because NBC didn't think the story was strong enough to make public. Now, in a very awkward moment Tuesday night for NBC, well, Farrow goes on Rachel Maddow's show, the champion of human rights, to explain what he says happened with his own company. Watch this.
Why did you end up reporting this story for The New Yorker and not for NBC News?
Look, you would have to ask NBC and NBC executives about the details of that story. I'm not going to comment on any news organization's story that they, did or didn't run.
NBC says that, you didn't, that the story wasn't publishable, that it wasn't ready to go by the time that you brought it to them. But obviously it's ready to go by the time you got it into The New Yorker.
I walked into the door at The New Yorker with an explosively reportable piece that should have been public earlier, and immediately, obviously, The New Yorker recognized that, and it is not accurate to say that it was not reportable. In fact, there were multiple determinations that it was reportable at NBC.
Wow. Now, predictably, in internal meeting remarks obtained by the Washington Post, NBC News president Noam Oppenheim, he denied that there was ever any effort to cover anything up. Now, he also reportedly defended the network's decision to pass on that story. He was saying Ronan Farrow's reporting at the time he presented it wasn't strong enough to move forward with. Well, if you listen to what Ronan Farrow said the other night, that's not the case. And NBC is so inconsistent with what it puts on TV and what it publishes. Remember, this is the so-called news organization. They have a news operation day in and day out that runs wild with lies and conspiracy theories daily about President Trump, about his administration. Guess what? Often they're completely void of any facts. Yet, when it comes to a story about a very powerful, high-profile liberal like Harvey Weinstein, well, NBC now claims there weren't enough facts to go with, even though Ronan Farrow proved otherwise. So in my opinion, by not going forward with these stories, the New York Times, NBC, they allowed this behavior to go on. And guess what? People suffered because of what they did. So typical of the left, the liberal mainstream media. So quick to report rumors, conspiracy theories about President Trump, conservatives, Republicans. Comes to a scandal involving a liberal, they're more than happy to just say, oh, maybe we won't cover this. Now, the liberal mainstream media in this country, they seem to only care about allegations and sins against conservatives. For example, the biased press, they love to talk about Russia, 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 but they never told Americans about the real Russia collusion story. That was Hillary Clinton, Vladimir Putin, Uranium One, and $145 billion kicked back to the Clinton Foundation. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, we want to remind you, our viewers, about Harvey Weinstein's generous donations to all of these Democrats over the years. Now, this is something most shows in the mainstream media, they're glossing over in terms of their coverage. Weinstein donated nearly $44,000 to Hillary Clinton and even more, over $56,000 to the Obama Victory Fund. Weinstein also gave over $97,000 to the Democratic National Committee, and he even wrote checks for over $76,000 to the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. And Hillary Clinton and the Obamas, it took them 5 long days before they weighed in and started to slightly denounce Weinstein. And last night on the liberal fake news, CNN, there was Hillary announcing, well, she's going to give the contributions from Harvey Weinstein to charity. Here's what she said.
I was just sick. I was shocked. I was appalled. It was something that was just intolerable in every way.
Senator Blumenthal says that people should give back the money that he donated to them. He donated money to you directly and indirectly. Would you give the money back?
Well, there's no one to give it back to. What other people are saying, what my former colleagues are saying, is they're going to donate it to charity. And of course I will do that. I give 10% of my income to charity every year. This will be part of that. There's no doubt about it.
Sick, shocked, appalled. All right, let's take a moment to applaud Hillary Clinton's newfound moral compass. After all, this is the same Hillary Clinton who gladly took millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into the Clinton Foundation from countries with the most deplorable human rights records. Now, tonight, well, we want to know, Hillary, if you're sickened, if you're shocked and so appalled, are you going to give the money back? For example, your foundation took between $10 and $25 million from Saudi Arabia. They restrict women's rights to work and travel. Men tell them how to dress. You know what? In Saudi Arabia, if you're gay or lesbian, you can be put to death. You accepted money from that country. And then there's the UAE. They gave the Clinton Foundation between $1 and $5 million. Well, they give men the legal right to beat their wives, and they don't recognize marital rape. Kuwait also gave the Clinton Foundation between $1 and $5 million. They also have an atrocious track record on women's rights. For example, no laws prohibiting domestic violence. Brunei gave Hillary Clinton's foundation $1 to $5 million. In that country, marital rape is, guess what, not illegal. Qatar donated $1 to $5 million. In Qatar, it's written into law women must obey their husbands. And ring up another $1 to $5 million from Oman. Well, that's where a woman's consent is not required to legalize a marriage. And last but not least, Algeria donated several $1,000s to the Clinton Foundation, and that country also doesn't recognize marital rape as a crime and restricts travel for some women. So we have to ask Hillary Clinton, if you really care about the rights of women, are you going to return the money from those countries that practice Sharia, where women are told how to dress, whether they can travel, whether they can work or go to school, where in many of these countries gays and lesbians are killed? You can't practice your faith if you're Christian or Jewish, because you can't build a temple or a synagogue. Now, I'm not going to hold my breath here. I'm not going to expect Hollywood liberals or the mainstream media to ever call out this massive double standard. And finally tonight, new evidence that sexual harassment could be part of a much larger systemic problem in Hollywood. Now, we've all heard the stories, the rumors. You've heard the term, the casting couch. And now more people are starting to speak out about the alleged abuse, including male actors. Terry Crews said he was groped by a Hollywood executive. James Vanderbeek is now saying, quote, older, powerful men in Hollywood inappropriately touched him. Earlier in the week, I said that Harvey Weinstein, this scandal is just opening Pandora's box, and it's going to expose what liberal, hypocritical Hollywood is really all about. We're beginning to see this come true. Hollywood A-lister Ben Affleck, he's now facing scrutiny over his actions. Why? After Affleck, he put out a statement saying that he was sick over allegations about Harvey Weinstein. It was then pointed out on Twitter that Ben Affleck once groped an actress by the name of Hillary Burton on MTV's Total Request Live back in 2003. Here's a video from a documentary showing exactly what happened.
You're always like, I'm just free-spirited. It's so nice to see you.
And he wraps his arm around me and comes over and tweaks my left boob.
Nice to see you.
Oh, now Affleck, now that he's been called out, he came out with a statement apologizing for his actions. Oh, and then there's Mr. Political himself, Jimmy Kimmel. Now, the website Mediaite actually called out the late-night host for how he's been covering the Weinstein scandal. Take a look at this headline. Hey, Jimmy Kimmel, where's your emotional monologue on sexual harassment in Hollywood? An excellent question, an excellent point. Now, Kimmel is very quick to attack President Trump and Republicans, quick to, shed a tear about topics that he cares about. But for some reason, Kimmel has been so quiet about Weinstein. Where are Kimmel's tears for Weinstein's victims? Earlier this week, a video emerged of Kimmel from back in 2002 when he co-hosted The Man Show. We must warn you, this clip is pretty graphic. Take a look.
This game show is called Guess What's in My Pants. Now, I've stuffed something in my pants, and you're allowed to feel around on the outside of the pants. You'll have 10 seconds to then guess what is in my pants. You ready?
Set.
Go.
It looks fun.
You should use two hands. Two hands.
And it gets worse, and the girl turns out to be 18. There's also this stunning moment from former Hollywood star Ed Asner on MSNBC. Oh, the great news network they are, asking the anchor to give him a kiss. This was from just this week. Watch this.
I'm joined now by a man who starred in one of those groundbreaking shows, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, winner of 7 Emmy Awards, more than any other man, Ed Asner, who helped demonstrate the changing culture of independent women in the workplace for millions of Americans each week. Ed Asner, wow, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you. Not even a kiss.
No, nothing, right?
Oh, my God.
What a pompous jackass. Now, to most of us, this is beyond offensive. However, as we've been saying, what's being uncovered about Harvey Weinstein looks to be part of a much larger problem plaguing Hollywood and Washington. Let me give you another example. Director Roman Polanski. Remember? He's the guy that was accused of raping a 13-year-old back in 1977. He even apologized years and years later. What did he do? He gave the 13-year-old champagne and Quaaludes. At the time, he was 43. The girl's 13. He was eventually charged with 6 felony counts, but fled to Europe before being sentenced. Now, you would think a 13-year-old, after that, Hollywood would completely disown him, renounce him, to absolutely be horrified by it. That never happened. In fact, back in 2003, Polanski, he won an Oscar for Best Director, and the celebrity-filled audience erupted in applause. They couldn't get enough of it, even though Polanski couldn't attend because he was avoiding authorities overseas, because if he came back to America, he'd be charged with raping a 13-year-old girl. And in 2009, after Polanski was arrested in Switzerland, guess what? That was over the 1977 case. Over 100 celebrities signed a petition demanding Polanski's release. So while the rest of America really is shocked by the Weinstein scandal, we shouldn't be at all surprised about what is really going on in Hollywood. It's been happening for years. Here with reaction from the Make America Great Again Coalition Chief Strategist, former Deputy Assistant to the President, Sebastian Gorka, and Fox News Correspondent at Large, Geraldo Rivera. Sebastian, look at this reaction just to Roman Polanski alone. What does that tell us?
That the left and the media elite love their scumbags, Sean. It's really that simple. I remember clearly one of my first days working on the White House. It took me 20 minutes to move 3 blocks, to drive from the White House out to the freeway, because the pink hat protest, remember the pink hat protest? Had surrounded the whole White House. We couldn't move for all of those people protesting the president and his misogyny. Where are they now? Sean, are they standing outside the Weinstein Company headquarters? Are they parading down the boulevard in Hollywood outside the studios? This is the problem. This is the double standards. I want to see the feminists. I want to see the nasty women out there fighting for the rights of the women this man has abused and this culture has made normative. You know, Sean, you know this is the tip of the iceberg. I predict an avalanche of stories about sexual abuse, rape, and all kinds of misconduct coming out of the Hollywood elite, and these are the people who want to preach to us about their moral values. Wow. and then write the fake news stories in the press. The day has come. They are now looking in the mirror, and they will pay the price.
Well said. And Hillary, give the money back you took from all these countries that abuse women, kill gays and lesbians, and persecute Christians and Jews. I think the Kimmel thing was pretty disgusting. You know, Mr. on his high horse lately. Okay, I want to play for you Roman Polanski getting the Oscar. He gave he's in his 40s, gives a 13-year-old girl booze and Quaaludes, Geraldo, rapes her, brutally rapes this girl. And watch Hollywood. If this doesn't show what a sewer Hollywood is and the phony hypocrites they are, supporting every Democrat they support, watch this.
Roman Polanski, for the pianist.
Polanski's a pig. They're standing and cheering a child rapist.
The conceit is that his art is separate from his life. And I think that if you go through history, I think that principle is honored by the artistic community, quote unquote. But 2 points. Number one, I lament the fact that we applaud the downfall of the person whose ideology is opposite ours, and we put our head under the pillow when it happens to one of our own. I think that you've been a straight shooter on it, and I applaud you for it, and that's one of the reasons I love you. But the situation in Hollywood is just beginning. I think that Dr. Gorka is right in the sense that there are few industries. I think that there is a problem. Sexual harassment exists through many, many industries. Now you're seeing Amazon being engulfed in scandal. But there are a few industries where the imbalance is so profound, where you have an 18, 20, 22-year-old girl. She's coming to one of these powerful Harvey Weinstein type mogul, you know, with the big belly and the hairy chest and the gold and all the rest of it. She knows that she's got a very limited time. It's a very fragile window that she has to make it big in a highly competitive industry, where if she doesn't make it by 23, 25, you know, in the modeling industry, it's 23 skidoo. There is a great incentive on both parts.
You know the casting couch is true.
I've done a dozen exposés. It is absolutely true. But I would submit to you that the perpetrators defy all ideological boundaries. The right-wingers and the left-wingers, they do it, I think. All
right, and let me stay on Geraldo's point. All the coverage, the New York Times and NBC and CNN over any allegation at the Fox News channel, Dr. Gorka, or anywhere else, or any conservative, or any pastor or minister. They seem to love when ministers fail. They want to be perfect. They're not perfect. We're not perfect. But Hollywood knew. Everybody knew for decades about this guy. NBC News spiked the story, as did the New York Times, as sanctimonious as they are, Dr. Gorka. And then they're going to lecture about words, locker room talk, allegations that aren't proven, and this guy's admitting he's a pig.
Look at what they did to Vice President Pence and what they still do. One of the most outstanding moral men in America today, attacked for his traditional values. That's how upside down the world is. You're absolutely right. Everybody knew that this culture has been part of Hollywood for decades. They knew about Harvey Weinstein, which makes them facilitators. On the flip side, what do? They invent stories about the president. You've documented all of them. They've generated this Russia collusion delusion for a year now with not one piece of evidence. But when somebody comes to them with a story about one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry, what happens? Not only one, but two media organs, leading media organs.
How many people could have been saved?
It.
How many people could have not been victims?
Dozens.
Wait a minute. And these. All right, go ahead, Mr. Contrarian.
No, all I'm going to say is that the demonstrators came to Fox because they hated what was going on here. There will be no demonstrators in front of NBC.
Right.
And the New Yorker, which is being applauded now for running the Ronan Farrow piece, the New Yorker only ran that after the New York Times had already killed Weinstein. And all of the so-called courage of the people coming forward now, it takes no courage once the perpetrator is dead.
Especially the rich and successful, powerful Hollywood women.
They knew, all of the colleagues knew, and now it's fashionable. Harvey Weinstein is finished. He's dead.
Is he going to go to jail, maybe?
Where is courage? I think that in New York State, the serious criminal sexual assaults of which he is accused have no statute of limitations.
Wow.
So I think that he is in potential jeopardy.
Are you going to now come back
here, his hometown?
Are you going to move back to our town?
I love you, man.
We miss you. All right. Thank you for being here. Dr. Gorka, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks,
when we come back, Kellyanne Conway is going to be with us. And guess what? What will she say about Hillary taking all that money from Weinstein and all these countries that practice Sharia? Kellyanne's next. And welcome back to Hannity. Joining us now with more reaction to the Harvey Weinstein scandal and Hillary Clinton's hypocrisy, counsel to the president, Kellyanne Conway. You know, Kellyanne, I've watched these Hollywood phony hypocrites go after you, and go after the first daughter, and go after the first lady of the United States. Oh, Melania wore high heels to representing the country on her way to help serve people in Texas. And I'm watching how they've treated women. And then you see the Hillary aspect of this and the donations from Weinstein and the money from countries that practice Sharia. Is this now just the beginning of a real dialogue of issues we've been pointing out for a long time?
Sean, it's clearly a continuation of the hypocrisy of Hillary Clinton and other so-called feminists like her. Why? Let's go back to the Oscars a few weeks ago. Can you imagine, for every unfunny political joke that was told, for every time the president's name was invoked, had we replaced that with Weinstein or rape or sexual predator? Or if somebody actually had used her power on the stage. There were many so-called powerful, rich, successful Hollywood women accepting awards, giving awards. What if one of them, over these many, many years that this has been going on allegedly, what if one of them stood up in front of a live TV worldwide audience and said, you know what, instead of thanking my mother and my third grade teacher and my producers and my agents, I'm going to tell you a story about what goes on here in Hollywood. And I'm going to do that now because when I was 22, I felt harassed and belittled and cornered. But now I'm double that age and quadruple that wealth. And I'm successful, and I want to save the next generation. Any woman out there who remains silent as the next generation suffered under this sexual predatory culture and this man, then they are complicit here, and they have no right to stand up and say that they speak for women. Now, let's be clear about something else. When Hillary Clinton and others, since you mentioned her, but many others, when they talk about, quote, women's rights and women's health, you have to take one layer off and realize they're really talking about abortion. They're often talking about abortion. When they say women's health, it becomes a euphemism for abortion. So when pro-lifers say, hey, you know, maybe it's not such a great idea to have an abortion in the 8th or 9th month, and they say a woman has a right to do what she wants with her body. Hey, folks, hey, ladies, a woman has a right to keep her body free from sexual predators who are allegedly threatening them if they don't comply, or dangling goodies, Hollywood goodies in front of them if they do comply.
So basically, if you have the right political positions, Hollywood will forgive all of Bill Clinton's atrocious examples of abusing women. These weren't consensual relationships. Monica, maybe, yeah, but not Kathleen, Willie, Paula Jones, Jennifer Flowers, or maybe Jennifer was, but she was trash for telling the truth, or Juanita Broderick. And we'll also forget Roman Polanski because he's such an oddist. And we'll forget that Hillary took all this money from all these countries, and they bought her silence because she never criticized the countries that donated so many millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation, that abuse women the way they do and persecute gays and lesbians and Christians and Jews. Isn't that really the truth here? Isn't that the biggest hypocrisy in this?
It is the truth. It is the truth. It really was a major storyline last year about the foundation taking money from these countries that oppress women and girls, don't give them basic rights that your daughter and my daughters and me enjoy every single day. There's something else here. I mean, you mentioned Bill Clinton. Just remember, if you're talking about sexual harassment in the workplace, he paid $800,000 to settle in money. That's money from 20 years ago. So imagine how much the value is now to settle such a suit. So Hillary Clinton's got some experience in this space. But most importantly, look at the juxtaposition in my workplace just today and what we're talking about in Hollywood with all these so-called feminists standing up for women's rights who remained silent and didn't help. Just today in the White House, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, did yet again what he's been doing his entire career. He elevated another woman to a position of power. Kirstjen Nielsen,
next.
his Secretary of Homeland Security nominee, that makes two women that have the top two spots in Homeland Security if she is confirmed. Elaine Duke, the deputy, and the new Madam Secretary, Kirstjen Nielsen. Kirstjen, of course, is the latest in any number of women that President Trump has elevated, gave women a chance in New York real estate when no man would. Certainly in his corporation, his campaign, his White House, his cabinet. And I thought it was just such a juxtaposition today to think about what the two parties are dealing with. And also, this is a president who, when he says, I'm going to empower women, women. How did he do that today? He signed an executive order in health care that helps millions of American women who post Obamacare have no health insurance, Sean. It's huge. And he's out there last night with the truckers and others in Pennsylvania promising them middle-class tax relief. That's the way you empower women. You help them when you're in a position to do that. These people in Hollywood failed. This president is succeeding.
All right, let me play, last night before the president arrived for the interview, and I can't let you go without an important political question. I went through the crowd. All right, you might argue, okay, this is a pro-president crowd because they were there to see him. I asked about the president. They love the president. I asked about the Republicans in Congress. I would assume a lot of these people there are Republicans, and about the media. Watch this reaction. This is from the people that were in Harrisburg last night. It's in Senate.
They're doing a terrible job. They need to get on board, because if they don't, what just happened in Alabama, you're going to see happen a lot of places.
That's the canary in the coal mine.
Absolutely.
How is the Congress doing?
Terrible. Congress needs to get on board and realize Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he is what America picked.
So the Republicans have the House and the Senate. You're angry at them?
Yes.
Yes. Angry?
Yes.
Angry? Angry.
Livid.
Congress?
Not so fantastic, but, I have hope that we can turn it around.
What do you think of the news media?
Well, I mean, you guys are fabulous, but CNN is fake news.
Fake news. Fake news. You agree with that?
I totally agree with that.
That new Fox is doing a fantastic job. True coverage. CNN, not so much. Exact opposite. I think the ignorance on the left is horrible.
How bad is the media?
Bad. Really bad.
Who's the worst?
CNN.
NBC.
CNN.
Take your pick.
It's fascinating. The public gets it. Congress isn't doing their job. Will they get this tax bill done, Kellyanne? Because if they don't, they really do need to go.
They need to. They must. Because look what happened today when Congress failed to repeal and replace Obamacare the way they all promised to do for 8 years. 8 months on the job. President Trump signs an executive order in to actually give some relief and open up some competition and choice. So he will take action every time he can, Sean, outside of the legislative process where it doesn't fail or where he's able to act, which he's done. I look at how much the stock market and all the confidence indicators love what this president is doing. When it comes to tax reform, we're very hopeful that Republicans will make good on their own promises to their constituents to give middle-class tax relief, to make us more competitive, to keep the jobs and the wealth here in this country, and stop punishing our employers and repatriate the $2.8 trillion that's legally parked overseas, give child care tax credit, expanded elder care tax credit, and also to do away with the marriage penalty, the death tax, all these legacy businesses. This is the way you help people. And when it comes to the media, I love the fact that General Kelly, our chief of staff today, took to the White House press room and took the case right to the media, basically said, you're lying.
They are liars.
You're lying.
They do lie with regularity, and we pointed out. All right, Kellyanne, great to see you.
And they don't need to. They don't need to. We're accessible. They just have to stop lying about Palace Intrigue.
They can't
He's doing a fantastic job. He has the president's
It's like
confidence.
they're drug addicts. They're addicted to the lies now and their own conspiracy theories.
But it doesn't help. It doesn't help the people. It helps the people to know what tax reform and health care reform will really do for them. That's going to help that.
They see it clearly now.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I agree.
Kellyanne, good to see you.
Look at the approval ratings.
All right, when we come back. All right, some NFL players warning they're going to keep this anthem controversy going even after what Roger Goodell said. We're going to tell you exactly what's going on, and we'll check in with Sheriff David Clark and much more straight ahead.
I watched Colin Kaepernick, and I thought it was terrible. And then it got bigger and bigger and started mushrooming. And frankly, the NFL should have suspended him for 1 game, and he would have never done it again. They could have then suspended him for 2 games, and they could have suspended him if he did it a 3rd time for the season, and you would never have had a problem. But I will tell you, you cannot disrespect our country, our flag, our anthem. You cannot do that.
That was the president last night on this program explaining how the NFL should have handled the national anthem controversy before, of course, it spiraled out of control. Now one of NFL players says requiring players to stand for the national anthem could lead to a, quote, messier situation. Really? Here with reaction is America First Action spokesperson and senior advisor, former Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, civil rights attorney Darryl Parks. Darryl, they want to continue to lose revenue, ratings, sponsors, and piss everybody off by not respecting the men and women that fought bled and died for their rights to play football and get paid a lot of money, then they can self-destruct. Because I'm telling you right now, they keep it up in the NFL, it's going to have that result and more. So have at it. That's my attitude. I'm a Saturday football guy until this gets fixed.
Well, without question, I don't think this issue has ever been about disrespecting the country, the flag, or the anthem, Sean. I think we are at a point now where we as a country...
People died fighting under that flag. So let's cut the crap. And let's be honest with the American people. They bled and died fighting under that flag. That flag and that anthem deserve respect. And the NFL players that are doing this are not respecting those that fought for them.
I think we're having two different conversations here. I think the message that Dave's trying to make is about the inequalities. It's time now that we find a way to have progress and to move from protest to progress and find a way to bring people together. That's what we need to do.
You know what?
We also need to find
I might actually believe in sincerity, Sheriff. You know, not far from you, there's a city called Chicago, and it's Obama's adopted hometown, and 100 people died when he was president. He only mentioned it but a few times. 18,000 shootings in just the last 6 years of Obama's presidency. So I'm not completely inspired. There was a cause everybody should have jumped on. We scrolled the names of those people one day. Nobody's ever heard of those names, but they heard about Michael Brown and Freddie Gray and Trayvon Martin and the Cambridge police.
Yeah, you're right. And President Trump is right on this as well. And everybody in America knows it. Look, it takes approximately 2 minutes and 12 seconds to sing the national anthem. If the players can't stand at attention, I'm not even saying they have to put their hands over their hearts. Stand at attention, face the flag for 2 minutes and 12 seconds. It means they're undisciplined. Look, they're dying the death of 1,000 cuts. And Roger Goodell has lost control of this thing. And now he's afraid. He's afraid that if he imposes a policy that they have to stand at attention and face the flag, that they won't do it. And then the question becomes, now what? But he let this thing spiral out of control. Look, the tail is wagging the dog here. The league has the authority. These aren't rights, has the authority to set rules and procedures for their employees. Players are employees, but what we have right now is the tail wagging the dog. So until, you know, now I hear the owners are going to meet in Chicago to discuss, or they're going to meet in New York to discuss this. And I thought, what the hell is there to discuss? Stand at attention, face the flag, and give it some respect. This is about respect and decorum.
You know what? You make such a great point. Darryl will give you the last word. You know what? The Dallas Cowboys weren't able to honor the slain officers in Dallas. You know what? Players that wanted to say on the 15th anniversary of 9/11, put on their cleats, 9/11/01, never forget. That violation of freedom of speech, nobody seemed to give a rip about. So let's cut this isn't a First Amendment issue, is it? This isn't about the oppression of Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. This is about rules. This is about simple, fundamental understanding and respect for the men and women that give us our freedoms. It's that simple to me.
But Sean, let me say this. I think it's also about the respect that these players deserve as Americans who respect the flag, but they have the right to protest. But also, they have the right to ask for a better America. They want to see
But the NFL won't let them honor. Wait a minute. Then why won't the NFL let the Cowboys honor slain officers? Why?
Well, without question, I think my Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I thought they had the right to do that too. Don't they have the right to honor the brave men and women that died in their city?
I think we agree, but I think the NFL also has the right to try. Let's move past this issue. Let's bring people together. Let's
see
find
how
a
it
way
works
to
out.
find what the problem is and find a solution.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
I'm in. Sheriff Clarkson, you want to do something for any city? Let's start in Chicago to help bring safety and security to the good men and women and children that are under fire every night. I'm in. I'll donate money, whatever you want. I'll match money with the NFL.
They get paid to play football, not to protest.
We all play a role.
When we come back.
They're men, and they have the right to fight for their rights, and that's what they're doing.
Okay, fight for the rights of the cops. Fight for the rights to honor the 9/11 victims. Worst terrorist attack in history. Don't be a bunch of phony hypocrites with a double standard. When we come back, a debate on Jimmy Kimmel. Oh, really, Jimmy? Let's go back in the video archives, Mr. Political Activist. Tommy Lara and Leslie Marshall next. And welcome back to Hannity. All right, Jimmy Kimmel is now facing a lot of criticism over a 2002 video that surfaced when he co-hosted The Man Show. We've got to warn you, this video is quite graphic.
This game show is called Guess What's in My Pants. Now, I've stuffed something in my pants, and you're allowed to feel around on the outside of the pants. You have 10 seconds to then guess what is in my pants. You ready?
Set.
Go.
It looks like
You should use two hands. Two hands.
And he says later, you may want to kiss it. And by the way, one girl he did it to was 18 years old. Here to talk about this, Fox News contributors Tommy Lahren and Leslie Marshall. Tommy, I'll start with you. There's such hypocrisy here. Hillary, money from Sharia countries, all the money Weinstein gave to liberals ignoring the Clintons. As long as they have the right politics, they'll ignore all of Bill's sins of groping, fondling, touching, kissing. And in the case of Juanita Broderick, we know what she said. So there's such hypocrisy from them.
Well, of course it is, and I think it's important for us to understand that the left is not pro-woman. The left is anti-Trump, and there's a big difference, as evidenced by their radio silence this week. Now, of course, they come out, they tweet their disgust, and Hillary said she was appalled. Really, Hillary? Were you really appalled? Were you appalled by Bill, too, because you stayed with him? I don't believe any of this.
I want Hillary, Leslie, to give back the money that she took from Saudi Arabia and all these countries that oppress women, many that kill gays and lesbians, and that persecute Christians and Jews. Will you join me in calling for her to give back the money that she took from those countries that bought her silence?
You know what's interesting, Sean, is everybody on the right tells me Hillary should shut up.
You're not answering my question. I can hear it already.
Just remember that you lost. No, I don't think she has to give back money that was given to a campaign by these countries because, one, although it's horrific what happens to women in Saudi Arabia, there is progress with women's rights in Saudi Arabia.
Would you take
the right to drive,
money
the right to vote.
Would you take money from a country that tells women how to dress, women, you know, that can't travel abroad, that kills gays and lesbians, and you can't build a temple or a church? Would you take money from those people? That's a yes or no.
Well, then I wouldn't be able to take money from. I'm on a witness stand. I can only say yes or no.
That's right.
It would
yes
depend
or no.
on the country. I couldn't take money from France, could I? Because of the burqa. So I don't think it's fair to ask that in that context. To be
really?
honest.
Because they oppress women
I couldn't
systematically.
I couldn't take money from France.
You know, I almost sound like the liberal here, Tommy, because I'm saying I'm standing up for women. They're killing innocent people because of their sexual orientation, and they're persecuting people for religious reasons. And I'm saying that's blood money. Hillary, give it back. Where does Tommy Lahren stand?
Well, I think that she should give it back, but I don't expect it. I don't expect much from Hillary at this point. I mean, she's peddling her books at Costco talking about women's rights. She lectures us on a weekly basis about misogyny, and she gives us the definition on stage time and time and time again. But then her spokesperson sends out a tweet about Weinstein. She doesn't give the money back, or she's going to give to charity, or she's going to do something with it. Again, Hillary, if you want to be out of the spotlight, be out of the spotlight. If you want to be in the spotlight and denounce people like Harvey Weinstein. We'd like to see you do it, but she won't do that because she's pro-Hillary, she's pro-Democrat, she's pro-whatever lines her pockets and the rest of the DNC as well.
Yeah, I can't believe you won't say that they should give back that money, Leslie. I'll give you one last chance to redeem yourself.
She doesn't need to give back money. And why, by the way, if she has to give back money to these countries, Sean, in all fairness, male or female,
is she a hypocrite?
Democrat or
Last
Republican.
Question. Is she a hypocrite?
Well, wait a minute. I don't feel she's a hypocrite at all. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. She is not the perpetrator
Elizabeth,
here. Allegedly,
I'm coming
Harvey
home.
Weinstein is.
Beam me up, Scotty. More Hannity after this. Thank you both. Welcome back to Hannity. So 2 years ago, I knew that Hollywood was, well, predictably boring. Their movies are formulaic, and they had a contempt for conservative Christian values. And you know what? I met with Kevin and Sam Sorbo, and we decided to do a movie. Just so happens that it is at this time. It's going to be in theaters October the 27th. It's called Let There Be Light. You can take your whole family to it. Now, it highlights one man's journey, and it's something your entire family can enjoy. Take a preview.
Clinically dead in the ambulance for 4 minutes. It's a miracle. I saw Davy. And all I wanted to do was just, I wanted to put my arms around him. I don't know what to do with it.
You've gotten the best scientific explanation. It hasn't brought you any comfort. Would you consider consulting a different source?
It opens in theaters October 27th. This will not insult your intelligence or values. I hope you'll think about watching it. Hannity.com for theaters near you. This show will always be fair and balanced when not the mainstream media. Kill Me's next. See you back here tomorrow.